As of today, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie has finally been released, is something that I never thought I was actually going to be able to say. In case some of you forgot, this movie was announced 8 years ago. 8 years in 2015. Some of the people who want to go see the movie probably didn't even exist yet. This movie was to be made by Warner Brothers, and it was supposed to be a insane, terrifying, and weirdly adorable movie. Whatever that means. Unfortunately, from here on out, the movie encountered delay after delay, until it was finally picked up by the creators of The Purge and the Insidious movies, Blumhouse Pictures. I was in 5th grade when this movie was first announced, and I planned with all of my friends that we were gonna go see the movie. Now, if it was rated R, then obviously we would lie about our ages. I don't really know how well that would have worked, considering that we were 10. But regardless, this movie is very important to me. And I grew up with this game, so of course I want the movie to be good. Even though the movie's probably not going to be that good, considering the reviews, but that's critic reviews anyways, nobody cares. And IGN too.
Nobody likes IGN.
Now that being said, if it sucks, I will be the very first one to tell you. All that childhood memories and nostalgia, move aside. We got a movie to review.
Meanwhile...
Oh my god, is that Freddy? Say the line. Say the line, do it. Alright, out of 10, what do you think the movie's gonna be?
It's Freddy. I feel like a high, I'm being optimistic, like a low 8. A high 7, low 8.
It's Freddy.
Yeah, better than Thor Love and Thunder.
Okay, what do you think? You think it's a 10 out of 10?
What? 10 out of 10.
So what do you think it'll be?
What do you think?
I think the movie's probably gonna be, I don't know, 7 or 8.
If the Five Nights at Freddy's bus crashes into us.
Alright, it's been 1 day since the movie, and I've had some time to sit and think about the movie, and even reviews have come out. But before we get into it, I'm gonna rip the band-aid right off. This movie is not canon to the games. The easiest way that I can explain this is that the books are also not canon to the games, meaning what happens in the books does not actually happen in the same universe as the games. Now that being said, the books can give us tools to understand the main series. So for those of you who are gonna comment, "Oh, Gavin, I didn't like the movie because it got the lore of the games wrong." No. That is not what the movie was trying to do. The movie was not trying to recreate the events of the games. Now that I got that out of the way, wow, that was a really controversial movie. When we saw the Mario movie the opening day, I looked at Rotten Tomatoes and the critics' score was like a 60, I think. And I assumed that means that the movie was bad. But then we went and the movie was amazing, and the audience scores agreed as well. And now the same thing has happened now, but to a much larger extreme. I mean, even when I'm trying to look at this movie from like an objective viewpoint, a 25% is still really low. Let's play a quick game of Is That Critic a Snob? First of all, we got a person who says Five Nights at Freddy's is 4 nights too many, with a 25%. That's actually kind of a funny review. But their favorite movie of all time is The Godfather. This one says, though deadly robots and spooky kids would be frightening enough alone without them teaming up, somehow, when they're together, they're not that scary or much fun. And this one's favorite is also The Godfather. And finally, this one says, one problem is that the title imposes a stop and start structure, which keeps killing the momentum. One scary night would work much better than 5 nights with timeouts for daytime plot and the evil auntie or a deep backstory. That's actually not a bad review. Let's see what other movies they've reviewed. Oh wait, The Godfather. The feud between audience scores and critic scores have existed for quite a long time actually, and a lot of people give critics a hard time with it, and I don't think that's necessarily fair. You are watching movies as a living. You see film as an art form. You see it as a way for civilians to express their inner feelings and to critique society as a whole. Of course, you're obviously going to give some artsy movie a really high score, and then you're going to give the Funny Bear movie a very low score. Think of it like you're a food critic who reviews world-renowned restaurants from all across the world, and you go to a Taco Bell on a Thursday night at midnight. Yeah, that food may be pretty good, but should it really be reviewed alongside some of the most classy and fancy restaurants in the world? If he rated Taco Bell the same amount, then that would probably ruin his reputation. As for my personal biased score, I would give the movie a 9 out of 10. As for my objective, non-biased score, I'd give the movie a 7. Now we're gonna get into some spoilers, so click off and watch our non-spoiler video if you would not like any spoilers. Mike Schmidt is a mentally unwell man whose younger brother was kidnapped at a very young age. Gee, I wonder who that could have been.
Oh, there he is. I'm okay, Scoop.
And Mike believes that by revisiting this memory inside of his dreams, he will somehow be able to find the man who kidnapped his little brother. So in order to do this, in this movie, he sleeps. He sleeps a lot. He's a really sleepy man. Funny enough, this belief is actually called dream theory in the movie, which if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, you know that that is actually the fan theory that people came up with to explain the 4th game in the series. That was the theory that FNAF 4 didn't actually happen at all. It was all just a dream and nothing ever occurred. And then Mike goes absolutely ballistic inside of a mall and beats up some father because he thought it was a kidnapper. Honest mistake. And this causes him to lose his job as a mall security guard and even maybe to lose custody of his little sister, Abby. How he doesn't get immediately arrested for this? I don't know. But because of this event, he is unable to get a job anywhere else. So he picks up a job to look over an abandoned pizzeria overnight. One day, he is unable to find a babysitter for his little sister, Abby. Gee, I wonder what happened to her. And due to Abby being a child and the animatronics also being a child, the animatronics are immediately drawn to Abby, which leads to one of the goofiest scenes I have ever seen in the movies. Let me paint a picture for you. Mike is snoozing as usual. He is passed out. He is not waking up anytime soon. But when he gets up, Abby is missing. So he goes to the main stage and it looks like all of the animatronics are attacking her, but it turns out they're just tickling her, I guess. And then Vanessa, the security guard, walks in and then explains that there are actually ghosts possessing these animatronics. And then out of nowhere, there's this just really silly sleepover montage with Mike, Vanessa, and Abby. The entire time the animatronics are just being like so silly. They're like picking up stuff and they keep like dropping it on the ground because they're so clumsy. They keep like falling over and they look so funny. They look so funny looking. And it's just so goofy seeing these animatronics that were supposed to be like threats in the beginning of the movie and then just seeing them be so silly. Which actually brings me to my next point. The animatronics in the movie in general is just not scary at all. The animatronics are just like so soft and huggable, and when they try acting angry, they just end up looking so silly. They look like giant Muppets. I just want to give Freddy a hug. I have no idea how they ended up making animatronics that are supposed to have rotting corpses of kids inside of them look so soft and cuddly and like clean. But they did, I guess. And for those of you saying, oh, Gavin, it's actually a thriller movie. It's not supposed to be a horror movie. It's not supposed to be scary. It says a horror movie right there, right there. That's the first genre, horror/thriller. So I don't want to hear it. I wanted it to be a little bit more scary. And I really loved those silly parts, but it gave the movie just such an odd tone. Like, for example, Vanessa the security guard during the slumber party was having an absolute blast. She was building the forts with all the animatronics, and she was talking about how fun they were. And then Abby goes on stage and she strums Bonnie's guitar, which causes a big electric blast somehow. And then Mike meets Vanessa outside, and Vanessa, I'm not kidding you, comes up to him and says, if you bring Abby here again, I will shoot you. Maybe I was too distracted on the epic fort that they were building, but it seemed so like obscure and out of nowhere. And it's this weird flip-flopping that it tries to do. I think it would have been a lot more better if they focused on more of a darker, scarier theme, and then had the humor inside of it be like dark humor. From here on out, it is revealed that the animatronics actually want to kill Abby so that Abby can become one of them. And then it is here that Mike makes the worst trade offer of his life and ends up trading Abby so that he can, like, I don't know, go to the Nebraska woods. So one quick cab ride with Corey X Kenshin and Golden Freddy, and they are back at the pizzeria. And this is where the man, the myth, the legend, Shaggy Rogers is there. Like, dudes, I'm the man behind the slaughter. That was a pretty good impression, wasn't it? But like, actually, Steve Ragland or whatever his name was actually William Afton, which I assume was pretty obvious, but some people aren't quite as big-brained as I am. And then Abby convinces the animatronics to turn against William Afton and actually attack him instead. And this is where we get the finally long-awaited spring lock failure scene. Now, when I was thinking about spring locks, I usually thought about them acting in a little bit of a different way. I thought that inside the suit was actually like a compressed skeleton, and the spring locks were what was holding it back. And then I thought when a spring lock failure happened, then the actual skeleton would shoot forward and kind of like shoot into your body, like impaling you with the metal skeleton. Now, the way that the Five Nights at Freddy's movie happens is that there are 6 like claws on the outside, and then what happens when a spring lock failure happens is just like stabs into you one by one, which, I mean, it's not quite as dramatic, but I think it's fine. And this is when he says the line, I always come back. I think, isn't it a little odd that he's saying that I always come back? I mean, he says that in the games because he's like already dead, and he's been like dead multiple times, so he always comes back, but like he doesn't have anything to come back from yet. He doesn't always come back. He will come back. Not always. Doesn't know that yet. Overall, I thought the movie was fantastic. I personally, being a Five Nights at Freddy's fan since I was 10 years old, I would give it a solid 9 out of 10. Now, objectively, I would give it a 7 out of 10. Corey X Kenshin was the person to actually introduce my 10-year-old self to this series, so seeing him in this movie was just really, really cool. If my younger self could have seen that, man, he would have been so happy. I remember in 5th grade when I didn't have the best days, I would usually come home and I would lay down on my bed and I would watch different YouTubers play through the Five Nights at Freddy's games. And little did I know that was actually probably one of the best childhood memories that I have. So just watching my little indie game from 2014 become mainstream has been an unreal experience. And I am just so glad that more people can experience this story. So should you go see the movie? Yes, of course. I will always motivate you to go support your local cinema. But at the very least, I believe that this movie is just a blast to watch, whether you're a FNAF fan or not. It may not be a ground-shaking masterpiece of cinema, but it is something that I really think you will not regret going to see. So make sure to subscribe and join our Discord so that you'll be the first one to know when we upload. And make sure to comment and tell me what you thought of the movie. Did you disagree? Tell me down below. Except if you're IGN.